Hi guys, I'm Andile Shatwaye and this is my podcast partner here, Ruth Ramalepe. So we would like to welcome you guys to our podcast, The Girls Lounge.
Yeah, so we are about to take you through a tangled world of Maru, Basihead's powerful 1971 novel that is rooted in post-colonial of Botswana. So today's focus is based on love triangle between Maru, Moleka, and Margaret, but not as a merely romantic, but as an allegorical post-colonial betrayal, where control, power, and identity takes out or plays out like Shakespearean tragedy in an African village.
Yes, or like a colonizer choosing which country to rule, liberate, or to suppress. So
Guys, maybe let's start by introducing our characters. So in Maru, we have Margaret, who is a Masara lady, oppressed, or let me say, colonized. Even though she is intelligent and educated, she is forever shadowed by a racial stigma.
Next, we have Moleka, who is the failed liberator. Although he was the first person to treat Margaret as a full human in that liberated or racial segregated village.
So, another character in the novel, we have Maru, lastly. So, Maru in the novel is a fascinating character. So, he is a colonizer. He holds power as he is a chief of the community. So he ends up marrying Margaret not out of love, but for the sake of his power. So moving forward, I want to go deeper into this character. So I will give it to my partner to take you through Margaret as a colonized.
So Margaret Cardmore is a young woman who moved to Dilebe village. She is an intelligent woman and educated, but despite that, she is still dehumanized by the chief or
people of the
community. And then there is a quote that says, "There was no one in life who did not hesitate to tell her that she was a bushman, mixed breed, half-breed or low-breed, or a bastard." So this quote shows that Margaret's identity was imposed upon her rather than her to define it herself.
To add on that, I think through this code, like this constant naming is the form of epistemic violence, removing her agency by defining her only through colonial lens. So her identity doesn't define her, but it is imposed in the novel.
So even when Margaret speaks, she often does so in measured silence, a powerful metaphor for the silent colonized voice. So moving on to another quote, where Margaret said, "But I'm not ashamed of being a Masao." So in this quote, Margaret shamelessly declares that she is a Masawa, which is a term that is historically loaded with slavery and dehumanization in Botswana. Like the colonized subject, Margaret is reduced to her tribe, not seen for her intellect and abilities. So this also aligns with Frantz Fanon's theory of the colonized becoming hyper-aware of their identity only through the lens of the colonizer.
So to add on what she said, Margaret, she doesn't say that with pride because she knows that being a Masara automatically reduced her status, even if she is educated and skilled, which also reflects how colonial system not only conquer the land but colonize the mind. So in the love triangle, she is not a romantic subject. She is embodiment of colonized nation, hesitant to assert herself even in love because she knows that the society already judged her unworthy.
So moving on to the character of Moleka, who we can say that he is a faith liberator. But he is the one who also initially affirms Margaret's humanity. So there's a quote that also that says he invited all his Masawas to dine with him. So this was a huge thing to do in a society that treats the Masawa people as subhuman. So Moleka also flirts with the revolution. He wants equality, but ultimately he lacks courage to claim Margaret publicly. He retreats when people or when the society stirs.
Okay, so it proves that Moleka is not a man of his word. So moving forward on the cause that proves that Moleka is a failed liberator, there's a point where he gave Margaret a badge from his own office. So this reflects classic liberators' contradictions, a desire to uplift the oppressed without confronting the structures of the oppression. So in this sense, Moleka becomes a post-colonial African elite who promises justice, but in short, stop delivering for change. So this makes him a failed liberator, both in love and politics. So you can see that Moleka is those kinds of men that you can't rely on,
Yes,
because they
you
can
cannot
turn and
trust.
backstab you.
When things get tough,
You
can see.
So moving on to our last character, we are going to talk about Maru, who is a colonizer in the novel. And he is a chief and a king in the community of Dilebe, a village in post-colonial Botswana. So Maru in here is a colonizer, as I said. So there is a quote that proves that he is a colonizer when he was saying that, when he was seeing Margaret for the first time and saying that a woman like that would ensure that I'm never tempted to make a public spectacle of myself. So you can hear by his words that he is not speaking out of love or admiration or equality, but he sees Margaret as a tool to uplift his own image. Like he treats her as a means of an end, not as a person. So this reflects how colonizers sometimes controls others not for their benefits, but to protect and maintain their own authority and dignity. So by choosing someone who ensures he doesn't make spectacle of himself, it means that Maru is choosing someone to help him to maintain her image of power in the community, which also reflects colonial system. So here, Maru is asserting control over how he appears to the public, and Margaret becomes the symbol of that control.
So moving on to another quote about Maru is, I watched everything thinking you might see that I loved you. Dikeledi gave me all your pictures except the last one. So in this quote, we can say that Maru was manipulating Margaret's environment, using people around her to uplift his authority.
Okay. Yeah, so moving on, we'll talk about another quote we found in the novel. What will they do when they hear that a certain Masara in my village is treated as an equal?